Hello and welcome to my channel. It's Liz at Westar Herbs, and today I'm doing a long overdue video response to Kay at Amidst the Gray. So this tag has been circling around TarotTube for a couple of months, I want to say. It's called Coffee House Decks, and I had not even watched any of the original or VRs because when I saw Coffee House decks, I thought, well, I don't drink coffee, so I'm not going to really have anything to say about this. But then one day I watched a VR and I thought, oh, wait a minute, you know what? I can translate the coffee prompts into tea prompts and make this a tea shop decks instead of a coffee house decks. So anyway, then I watched Kay's original video, and if you haven't watched it, you really got to watch it. It's so clever and so creative, and, you know, kind of deserves an Academy Award. It's really a lot of fun to watch and inspired me to say, you know what, I am going to do this. So I'm going to read the prompts, and then I'm going to tell you the coffee prompts and how I changed them into tea prompts. So the first one is the espresso shot, and this is a deck that's strong, punchy, gets right to the point. And the tea that I immediately thought of for this was Lapsang Souchong. So this is a really smoky tea. It has been smoked, thus the smoky flavor. When you take the cover off the box, or when someone is near you drinking it, you just smell all this smoky aroma. And it is a really strong, punchy tasting tea. So the deck that I matched up with this one, I, of course, thought of New Era Elements, but whenever it's a strong or punchy or pulls no punches deck, I always choose New Era Elements. And I thought, you know what, let's think of a different deck for a change. So anyway, I decided to pull out Dark Days. It really is a pull no punches deck. It's black and white. These are the minors, which are white on black. And then let me just show you the majors are black on white. Oops. And it's a square deck, and it can be read directionally or with directionality. And in the guidebook, Ren Mercado, who is McMurdo, who is the creator of this deck, gives you, so for example, this is the star, upright, to the right, to the left, and reversed. So she gives you meanings for the different directions that the cards could fall out in. So that is my espresso shot deck, Dark Days Tarot. And the next one is the Drip. And this is a deck that's simple, accessible, and gets the job done. And so the tea that I chose for this is English breakfast tea. This is a decaf version, but any English breakfast tea would do. And this even says, enjoy the smooth, full-bodied taste of this classic tea anytime, any day. So, yeah, it's accessible and delicious. So I right away thought, well, it has to be a Rider-Waite-Smith. And I decided to pull out this one, the Wiser Tarot. It's fairly new to my collection. You know, they've redone it. It looks like watercolors. I particularly love the Swords suit. The watercolors, the purples, oh, I just adore it. It's like you know, it looks like almost not an impressionist, but it's just lovely watercolors. And here we see the wands, are more orangey, and the cups have this lovely gray blue, and then the pence have the green and sort of earthy look to them. And then the quartz, the majors are sort of a mixed bag of backgrounds. But they do have the Rider-Waite-Smith artwork, and they've just, recolored it. And they did try to be more inclusive in terms of skin tones. And, there's some controversy about it, but, they tried. I'm going to give them an A for effort. All right. Third is the Pour Over. And this is a deck you need to take your time with, but it's totally worth it. And so the tea that I thought of for this one was a freshly gathered herbal tea that I let steep to ensure that I get all of the flavor and nutrients and constituents from the tea. And since we are currently now in the winter season here in New England where I live, really one of the only choices I have is white pine. So I would go out and I would gather some white pine, and I would cut the needles into little pieces and put it in a French press. Let the water come to a boil and then let it cool off a little bit, because white pine has a lot of vitamins A and C in it. And if you pour boiling water on, you'll destroy the vitamins. So I let it come down off the boil and then let it steep for a good hour or so. In fact, even you can let it steep overnight. So what deck did I decide for the pour over? And that is the Shimmering Veil. And this was gifted to me by a lovely tarot friend of mine a few months back. And I've been kind of putting off diving into it because I knew I really did have to take my time with it. So I decided February was going to be the month that I dove into this deck. It's by Cilla Conway. And it's not my usual style of deck artwork that I'm attracted to for tarot. And I was afraid that I was going to have a little bit of a tough time reading it, but it's actually quite clear what the cards are. And I'm really not having trouble reading it, but I am taking my time with it. Sometimes I'll just pull one card. I've been doing these 5-card spreads since the beginning of 2023, where I pull a card a day for 5 days, and then at the end of the 5 days, I'll read it as a 5-card spread. So I read them individually and then at the end as a 5-card spread. And that's been, a really good way to, I love this Empress, to get to know this deck. So that is the pour over, and that is, I chose the Shimmering Veil, again by Cilla Conway. And this is the only Cilla Conway deck that I have. Not sure if I'll ever get any others or not. I'll see how I get on with this one. All right, next up is the Cafe Latte, and that's a deck that's well received and highly palatable. And so locally, I go to this coffee tea shop called Coffee-O, short for Coffee Obsession, and they actually make a tea latte. So it's half, they make a strong cup of tea, and then they mix it half with steamed milk. Anyway, that's something that when I go out, I get. But when I'm at home, this is the tea that I'll drink for the for this prompt, Yorkshire Gold. And it is highly palatable and well received. It's a tea that I first had in England. It's a tea that you find in all the grocery stores in England. And locally, I do have a grocery store that carries it. And I love it. It's a nice, strong, delicious cuppa. So the deck that I chose for this prompt is the Sasser Burrito by Stacia Burrington. And I do think that this is a highly palatable, well-received deck. And I love this Ace of Cups, very appropriate for this tag. It's a beautiful deck. It's one that whenever I read for clients with it, people just love it. You know, they're really responsive to it. And more tea for the Queen of Cups. I don't know if I pulled the King of Cups because he has tea too. So this is a beautiful deck that I really enjoy working with, and that I do feel has been, here we go. It has been, very well received by the tarot community. And, I've had this deck for years, and it was out for years before I got my copy of it. All right, next up is Cappuccino. So this is a deck that's classic and sophisticated and maybe just a bit fussy. So the tea that I chose for this is a tea by Fortnum and Mason, and it's from their Classic World Tea collection, and it's Rose Pouchon. And I don't know if you can see in there. So it's China Keeman black tea with pieces of rose. And man, they got the balance just right. It's not too much tea, but it's not too much rose. It's just lovely. And it's one of my favorite teas, and I save it for special treats. The deck I chose for this one is the Corte de Tarocchi. This is an This is an Okay, never mind. Guess I can't say Il Meneghello today. This is a deck that I absolutely adore. I don't use it a real lot, but I love having it in my deck collection just to pull out and look at and to feel the luscious cardstock. Oh my word. It is just, it's just this beautiful, thick, linen-y cardstock, and it's hand cut, and it's just divine. And I would say that the shape of the deck, I love the long and skinny of it, but it does make it a little bit difficult to shuffle. So I would say that it's the shape that gives it its fussiness. Again, this is just a wonderful deck that I love having in my collection, that I would never release, even though I really do not use it very much. Again, I just enjoy looking at it and playing with it. All right, next up is the Mocha. So this is a deck that is rich, indulgent, and a bit extra. And so for this one, I picked a Golden Milk blend. And this is an adaptogenic herbal blend. And it's ginger, turmeric, cardamom, ashwagandha, clove, cinnamon, vanilla, and black pepper. And I'm going to try not to, oh yeah, I did spill it all over the place. Look at the rich color of that. You know, when you buy herbal teas and regular teas, and I'm sure, I don't even want to show you the mess I'm making here. And I'm sure, coffee as well, from a really reputable source, you get a really good quality. So that is the Golden Milk tea blend I make with oat milk and honey, and it's just delicious. So the deck that I'm pairing it with is the Victorian Romantic by Baba Studios. This I do think is a bit indulgent with that all that all that cold foil stamping and the beautiful artwork. The colors are delightful, and oh yeah, you can see and anyone who's familiar with the Baba Studios knows the quality of their decks. I have also Tarot of Prague by Baba Studios, but I picked the Victorian Romantic because I just thought it was, you know, definitely rich and indulgent and definitely a bit extra. It has a little bit more of the cold foiling on it than the Tarot of Prague. So that is the Victorian Romantic by Baba Studios. Next up is the Cortado, a deck that's balanced and objective. And so the tea I picked for this one is called Big Ben. And this is from a tea company called Palais d'été. They're out of France. And I actually was in Paris when I discovered this tea company. And I thought, I'm going to be in Paris. I'm not going to be able to find tea anywhere. They just drink coffee there. But that's not true. So I did find this beautiful spot, and I love this Big Ben. It's a blend of Assam and Yunnan teas, and it's just delightful. And it's one of my favorite teas. And again, it's definitely balanced. So, and objective. So I'm not sure if it's objective, but it's definitely balanced. But the deck, I feel like, Aquarian is definitely an objective deck. I like this deck a lot, but I do not find it to be warm and fuzzy. It is definitely a little bit on the more reserved, objective side. It's a deck that I don't use a lot, but definitely this time of year, which I guess because it's the Aquarian Tarot and we are in Aquarius. So, and I do love the color palette. I love pinks and purples, especially this time of year. Again, I do find this to be more of a reserved, objective deck than a warm hug, subjective deck. So that would be the Aquarian Tarot, and that is a lovely deck that, this is a vintage version of it. And this is U.S. Games published, and it's a deck that I really enjoy. So that's that. Next up is Conpana, a deck that puts you in your place, but with a hint of sweetness. So the tea that I chose for this one is China Keeman. And China Keeman is one of my favorite black teas. I absolutely love it. It can be hard to find, but oh, it's just, definitely, it's strong and robust. But if you brew it properly, it has a real lovely sweetness to it. And the deck that I picked to go with this is the Delta Enduring, because I think it matches the prompt perfectly. This is one of my favorite decks. I absolutely love it. It is, unfortunately, out of print. And I used to not use it because of that. I used to not use it very frequently. And then these are extra cards. And then I realized, what's the point of having this deck if you don't use it? So now I use it a lot. And guess what? It can handle being used. Oh, I love that Hierophant. I love that Lovers. And I'm going to end when I get to Justice because it's my favorite Justice card. So that is the Delta Enduring by Egan. And I wish a publisher would, a major publisher or somebody would come along and reprint this deck, because I know people really would love to see it. All right, next up, Chai Latte. So this is a deck that's warm, cozy, and nurturing. And of course, I'm going to pair it with a chai latte tea. And I have a blend that I make myself. I use black tea, loose tea, and I blend that with clove, whole clove, chunks of cinnamon, ginger, black pepper, cardamom, and then steamed milk and honey. So sorry, I didn't say the deck. It's the Gaian. This always ends up, whenever I do a top 5 or top 10 favorite decks, this deck always ends up in that. It's always going to be one of my favorite decks. I'm happy that I have the Llewellyn version, because the Schiffer version is quite sketchy in terms of its cardstock. But this is by Joanna Powell Colbert. I love this Seeker. This is the Fool card. It's just a lovely deck. It's just a star card. And I return to it often. It's never far from me. It would be one of those decks that I would never, ever want to be without. So that is the Chai Latte, a deck that's warm, cozy, and nurturing, and that is the Gaian Tarot. The Matcha Latte. This is a deck that's an acquired taste, and it's a bit unconventional. So I chose for this, and I don't have any handy, Tulsi, so a fresh tea made of fresh Tulsi. And I do grow Tulsi in my garden in the summer. So for 5 or 6 months of the year, I have fresh Tulsi tea that I drink on a regular basis. It's also known as Holy Basil. And the deck that I've pulled for this prompt is the Tarot of Mystical Moments by Katrine Weltstein. And I love this deck. It is definitely, I think an acquired taste. It's a little bit unusual. You can see this artwork is a bit different. I just love this deck, though. Oops. I really, really enjoy it. It makes me happy. And I'm sorry, I have all these upside down cards and I don't need reversals. So anyway, that is my matcha latte deck. It's an acquired taste and a bit unconventional. And I would say that Tarot of Mystical Moments definitely is that. So next up is Hot Chocolate, a deck that speaks to a younger version of myself. And I have kept the prompt with, this is Coco Sante. It's a lovely mix that I make hot chocolate with in the wintertime primarily. And the deck I chose is this one, The Modern Witch by Lisa Sturl. And published by Liminal 11. And I do feel like this deck runs a bit young. And this reminds me of myself when I was, in my 20s and standing up with my little mini skirt against injustice, reproductive rights, anti-war, anti-racism, intersectional work that I still do to this day. But anyway, you can see I did never have a motorcycle, but it looks like fun. Whoops. So anyway, that's a deck that definitely brings me back to my younger days because I feel like the imagery on this deck does definitely run to the younger side. So that is Modern Witch and the Hot Chocolate. Italian Soda. This is a deck that's that's fun and not overly serious. And the deck I picked for this one was the Vanessa Tarot. And this is, I just love this deck. It's hilarious. It brings a smile to my face. It's just a great deck. And when I want something light and something fun, although it's not like it doesn't tell it like it is, because it does. But it's just a really fun deck that, you know, I just enjoy and get a kick out of, and always brings a smile to my face. And it is by Leonard Narciso, and he also is the person who did the Tarot de Celia, which is a Tarot de Marseille deck. So that is my Italian Soda deck. And then last but not least, prompt 13 is called the Herbal Tea. And so I've pulled out this. This is a tea blend that I make myself called Stress Less Tea. And in this tea is lavender, lemon balm, oat straw, rosemary, and rose petals. And I don't think you're going to be able to see inside the bag. Or maybe so. Oh, it smells delicious. So this is a tea that I will drink at night before bedtime because it is a very calming tea. And I went literal with this one. I was actually going to pull out the Herb Crafters, but I thought, I think I saw a couple other people do that. So I thought, you know what, I'm going to go off the tarot and go to Oracle. And this is the Soulflower Plant Spirit Oracle deck. And this is by Lisa, oh shucks, why am I forgetting her last name? Oh dear. And it's not on here. Lisa Estabrook. So I adore this deck. And I usually will pull one card at the beginning of every month and leave it out on my altar on a card stand. And so on this deck we have, so for example, this is Zinnia, Lightheartedness. And I'll just, you know, I'll just keep the card out all month and think about the keywords and the messages on this deck. My beloved white pine. Sometimes I will choose a card, and sometimes I will pull randomly. So this is the last prompt. We'll end on Beautiful Rosa Rugosa, which is joy and also love for heart healing, metaphysical and physical. Anyway, this was such a fun video to do, and I want to thank Kay for her creativity and her creating this tag, and all of you who have done VRs. It was really a lot of fun, and thank you for watching. And I'm going to go continue to watch more tags.